It's time to reap. Figured I'd let y'all know how I came about contributing to the indie horror community here. Right about the time the pandemic shutdowns were starting to let some normal activity occur, the wife and I happened to go to a pop-up market up in Houston. It was revolving around oddities and all the related subcultures that tend to gravitate that direction. Held up at a cool venue that has a outside covered bar type facility juxtaposed to an outdoor concert arena. Anyway, they had this market on regular occasions. It had just gotten back up to running, and we were pilfering through there, checking out all the cool wares, and a lot of the crystal shops and what have you folks had tables and booths where they were advertising their businesses and bringing stuff there all in one spot, conglomerate to shop through at dusk time with a cool beverage and mingle. And it was a little different atmosphere too, with just going through the mandatory closures and what have you here in Texas. So anyway, I come up on this gnarly looking dude. I even told him through our interaction, he reminded me of Doyle from the Misfits, and he took it as a compliment. But he had a table of nothing but paperback books. So I got to looking, and I was like, man, you did all these? And like, yeah. And what I'm getting at is, I had never known about the indie horror world. Had never stumbled upon it, never come across it. Even being an extreme metal fan my whole life, I kind of relegated horror to the mainstream acts, King and what have you. And I had read some of those years ago, but didn't know about the indie thing. So here was a local guy, Houston, John Wayne Communale, and I picked up a couple, and I asked him if I could peruse them. He said yeah. And thumbing through there, I was kind of impressed with his skills, and found out he had them available on Amazon and all too. So with us traipsing through there and carrying other stuff, I only snatched up one there. I said, give him a go. But I think that one was Mage of Hellmouth. But anyway, I liked it so much, being those of y'all that have checked out indie horror, it's got a little different vibe and has some different allowances of what was available before that. But he was a entertaining writer anyway. And so I devoured that first book and ordered up pretty much all of his I could get a hold of, and I finished almost everything he had available. And that introduced me to that world. So I was rapidly consuming there for a while. That's what led me to finding the publishing outfit, again locally out of Texas, Death's Head Press. So I found PC3 and all these cohorts. They had kicked up this neat idea, the splatter western. So they had a slew of those to get through, and checked out almost all of those. And so I was really getting a kick out of these, and glad they were available. And plus, by this point, there was plenty to tease through. And So here, not even a year goes by, and I get wind of there's a little horror writers panel being set up at a mom and pop bookshop down in Galveston. So, excuse to run down the road to Galveston. We go check it out. It's a little book fair and a writers panel. So, Hellbound Books out of Houston had set up, and one of his colleagues had a station too, and then a few independent authors had their own spots. So, man, that was cool. I was getting to handle things again from a variety of choices and different authors. And so this is where I came upon the anthology deal. The publisher of Hellbound himself was there, so I got to speak with him and picked up Shopping List 2, I believe. That was a neat concept, if y'all seen that. All the contributors put their wonky shopping lists included with each story. So an additional piece of dark humor along with most of the stories. Some of them related. I guess most of them related to the story, but not necessarily so. Wow, so now I was getting a variety of different styles and stories all in these anthologies. That was a neat deal. So by looking through that publisher's website, I noticed the world of open call submissions. So at this point, I thought I might like to try to get in on that. And at the time, what was on my mind, unfortunately, I had to move to what we thought was a decent area, but wound up right smack next door, bunched up against probably the rudest neighbors you could think of, and seemed to revel in hostility and harassment. It's like they made it their mission to invite everybody they knew and could pretty much every day of the week to cause us grief and deny sleep whatsoever, with the thumping and the crashing and the hollering and the confrontational interactions just coming and going nonstop. So I had always been a knife collector. I thought of it more as a knifer. I was into the knife, not just collecting. I had a small collection, but going for quality over quantity. Anywho, at the time, one of my prized possessions was a Busey Knives family, or Bussey, I guess you pronounce it Bussey Knives. Swamp Rat was one of their affiliate family member builders who tried to make not quite as pricey options for the working class users, especially for public servants, military, and what have you, making something that they could really trust and enjoy. Anyway, this model was called the Eraticator, spelled with a rat in there instead of the usual. Pretty impressive piece. And anyway, through the things I was going through and having that knife that I liked, the first story I worked on was titled Eraticator. I submitted it for one of the call-outs, and at the time, even though they were getting some pretty good competition to be included, the assigned compilers, curators, editors for each of the projects they were working on was still sending out emails to everybody who made an attempt, whether they were accepted or not. So I got the, declined letter, and I was like, well, shucks. But I didn't give up there. I kept developing more stories, and it was kind of a good outlet. Something else to do. Can't be on the guitar all the time. Can't be in the gym all the time. Can't be watching movies all the time. So I continued to work on some stories, and as slots came that were suiting, I kept kicking Eraticator back in there too. Anyway, the first one that got picked up was a story called Hell of a Deal. That one's in Serial Encounters, so go grab that up. The premise the editor wanted for that one was unknown related interactions that people would have had with infamous serial killers. So in no way glorifying them, just saying it's kind of a weird new take on it. Like, what would it have been like being around some of these folks, that are so different, so deviant, and what have you. So I was the only person I found out through communications with the editor there, since mine was picked up, one of the ones picked up, that I was the only one who attempted to send anything for the first ever coined serial killer in America. And it was good enough for her to feel it worthy of being included. So that was my first celebratory accomplishment of getting officially published, and not just putting it out myself, having some stiff competition there with some folks that really pride themselves on putting out some nice work. So I was really jazzed about that, and that I probably would have kept trying. I don't know how long, but that pretty much locked me in to go hard. But anyway, along the way, that first one that I ever worked on, Eraticator, did get picked up in Suburban Nightmares, so you can go find that one there. I think it's still available. And I got a couple more published through Hellbound Books with that whole segment of my start in indie horror world. Another one, this is probably the greasiest one of all, Coffin Creeper. And I did that one in first person. And boy, I got some grief for that, as folks that I knew in my regular segments of life started looking into and checking out what I'd been doing. I guess they had different impressions or didn't know what they were in for on Splatterpunk world, and couldn't remove the artist from the art, so to speak. Especially the first person really threw them for a loop. I mean, they were trying to assign things to me. It was another big psychological learning in this world, and not too far removed from the whole pandemic and shutdown thing I was talking about that led to starting this. But anyway, Coffin Creeper's out there, and that one's a doozy. So also, finally, with the stint with Hellbound, the last one done is called Luster. That's another one that had failed on its first attempt. It was originally named Illustrious, and if you go check out the story, you'll probably see how I thought that one was clever, but I went ahead and changed the name anyway on the resubmission, for lots of reasons, and I had revamped the story as well too. But that one gets a little closer probably to what ultimately led to my graduation, evolution to the next level of making an attempt at a full novella instead of a short story. So of course I was still studying the craft and enjoying it, not just looking for, what's going on, what's the competition doing, all that stuff. I mean, the way I saw it, that was just coming with. I was going to read anyway, right? Ever since John Wayne Communale showed me this was happening, I was going to keep looking as long as I found things appealing to me, of course. Anyhow, recently ran across Rotten Requiems, put out by Pure Abandon Press. And yeah, me being a metalhead, that one was right up my alley, of course. And one of the guys that I'd read plenty from, I recognize the name, Lucas Mangum. So I'm like, well, they can't all be bad, sort of thing. So I got that and was really pleased with that. And I had relocated since the untenable situation that I mentioned before never changed, despite my best attempts to involve all the authorities and what have you I could. So relocated, and late in the night, every night, getting situated over here, went ahead and started up what came to be known as Ghost Knife. So I had just wrapped it up and was contemplating doing an independent release through the various Kindle systems and all on Amazon, but then I remembered the Requiems that I just recently read, and I thought, I saw in the back of the book there that here again it was a Texas-based publisher, definitely seemingly like-minded. That publisher also happens to be a lead guitarist and has his own kick-ass band, Sadistic Force. They got videos on YouTube and everything. Anyhow, so I went ahead and hit him up, and he snatched it up. So luckily for me, good fit, and here it is coming out June 5th with Tanto Demonium. That is a short story that was submitted to Hellbound Books and didn't find a place, but it has never been published. And it is one of my favorites that I did on my own short story workings. So it had existed prior to my writing. It had existed in my banks prior to even working on Ghost Knife, but here it got a chance to get out since Pure Abandon made this pathway for it. So yeah, I got some of the copies for autograph pre-sale, of course, but what I want to show y'all is what you probably can't see on the other ads is the cover art. I know you can see it better on the other advertisements, but I had this cover art, all the art done by my good old tattoo artist, Nyla Peralta, right out of Kima. So that's a cool added collectability for indie horror world. And yeah, she even designed the back and everything. But throughout the book, we got cool inserts instead of your typical little asterisk breakups and what all. Through the Ghost Knife, we've got the neat Bowie style. Knife has inserts in there. And then in the Tanto Demonium section, let's see if we can get there. She did up a whole separate Tanto for me. Cool chisel style Tanto as inserts throughout that story. So 2 stories with different knife inserts, and all done by the Tad artist. So yeah, going into the future, we'll see what it brings, but I'm definitely I've got ideas, of course, other things that I was pondering that can materialize, and we'll see what else we do. But yeah, right now, coming up next, Ghost Knife, June 5th. Grab you up a copy, enjoy, and let us know what you think. All right, we'll catch y'all later.